I look at the photos of the jewelry of the Romanov royal family and admire them with admiration. What splendor and luxury! But how many masterpieces from the Imperial treasury were looted, lost and misplaced during the confiscation of the collection by the Bolsheviks? Only some jewelry was miraculously preserved. I will dwell more on the charming, exquisite, and pleasing to the eye jewelry crowning the royal hairstyles, tiaras. It is not surprising that it was Russian precious tiaras that dictated the fashion for jewelry throughout Europe. After all, domestic creations of skilled craftsmen were characterized by a special glamour, virtuoso execution, and design. Tiaras of the Russian Imperial family are unique, made in the form of magnificent kokoshniks. What is their peculiarity, you may ask? In form, they resemble the ancient headdresses of Slavic women belonging to the nobility. Such tiaras crowned solemn hairstyles, but if the jewel was removed from the head of the royalty and put on the neck as jewelry, unusual necklaces were made. Thus, the widow of Emperor Paul I, Maria Fyodorovna Romanova, owned the original spiked tiara. The filigree masterpiece by the Duval brothers' jewelry workshop became the Empress's favorite ornament. Look, because it is a real work of art, I'm simply delighted. The tiara, like a luxurious wreath, consisted of 6 golden spikelets. All of them, as if blown by the wind, leaning towards the center. Between the golden spikelets, resembling real ripe grains, thin, gracefully lacy linen stalks curl. The geniuses of jewelry craftsmanship were able to achieve such a realistic image that you can't take your eyes away. Dewdrops of dew on ripe ears shine with the purest diamonds, with which the majestic tiara is studded. It seems that precious dew fell in the morning, and the cool drops froze on the ripe twigs. In the very center of the inconceivable tiara lurks a 37-carat leucosapphire, as transparent as a true crystal. Only the elusive golden reflections on its facets emphasize the symbolic nature of the composition. The central gemstone resembled the sun that gives this rich harvest. Agree that the ears and flax, symbolizing the riches of the Russian land and the fruits of native fields, were very successfully chosen by the creators for the diadem of the imperial family. The ruling dynasty should lead the country to prosperity, and the tiara as if reminded of such a grandiose goal. Letitia Bechtolf, wife of the Prince of Hesse, wearing a Russian tiara in 2006. But here, the leaders of the revolution came to power. No matter how sad, but the idea of preserving such a rare treasure for posterity was discarded by the Bolsheviks. And in 1927, the lovely spikes ruthlessly went under the hammer at Christie's auction in London, as well as many other jewels of the dynasty. In whose hands fell unique thing, what was its fate? All this is unknown to us. There is an assumption that the tiara was simply broken into pieces and sold for its weight. Decades passed, and in 1980 the light saw a reconstructed replica of the royal tiara made of platinum, gold, and diamonds. Of course, Soviet jewelers V. Nikolaev and G. Alexakind did not aim to create a complete copy of the lost treasure. The new version of the tiara, called Russian Field, visually makes the patterns of the composition larger. The tiara is smaller than the original, and the central crystal this time is a sunny golden diamond. Nevertheless, thanks to a wonderful attempt to recreate the dynastic precious kokoshnik, we can at least imagine what those marvelous spikes looked like. The Soviet replica became a worthy exhibit in the collection of the Diamond Fund of Russia. A copy of the tiara in the Diamond Fund of the Russian Federation, Russian Field. I would like to note that Maria Fyodorovna, Sophia Maria Dorothea Augusta Louise of Württemberg, before adopting orthodoxy, was reverent about jewelry and various kinds of creativity. Imagine that Her Majesty herself laughed table jewelry, ivory inkwells, and stunning amber. And she even made portrait cameos of layered jasper and agate. Not surprisingly, the Queen always admired those novelties that jewelers brought to life just for her. Modern princesses wear an identical tiara, spikes of wheat. It also has Russian roots, but it has its own story, how it got to the Hessians.